Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good evening, good night. Come one, come all to the Oceania Finals League Season 0. It's the first of this year and we are all excited. I'm joined by a man when you think about the Golden Coast, you normally think of the sand. I think of the receding hairline and the golden hair that shines me brightly. But nonetheless, I'm joined by a very famous man, Proto. How you doing, man?
Shocked on that one, but it's fair. I got you with that light heavy one last week, so I think it was fair. But I'm doing great, Hyper. I'm so excited to come back to my own home turf, OFL. I'm so excited to be back in Oceania.
I'm glad to hear that. We have a lot today. Well, we were supposed to have a lot more, but we already had two teams play already. So we're minusing two matches, and I'm a little disappointed. But nonetheless, let's quickly go through this beautiful new league. It is a round-robin format where all 6 teams will battle it out against each other over 2 maps. Over those 2 maps, they'll gain points off it, and of course, climb up that beautiful leaderboard. Well, the top 4 teams will advance to the final day where they will play off to be crowned Oceania's greatest player. And we've got a stacked number of teams and a couple that, Proto, you said you've already faced off against.
Yeah, I've definitely been up against a couple of the guys in these teams. Obviously, being a local, I run into them on my average quick cash session. So shout out to Capybara Armada, Warden the boys. I actually did beat them in a quick cash, and I will go to the grave with that one. I am running with that forever. Ward's going to love it. They're going to think it's hilarious. And then I did also bump into Axolotl on Lagooners. And to be completely honest with you, the 2 teams I'd pick on this list, if I was saying to people at home, ones to watch, Capybara Armada and Lagooners are definitely the 2 that I would be backing if I had money on these games. However, saying that, I'm sure everybody else have had a quick, very, very quick read, mind you, through the rest of these team lists. And again, some of the skills, some of the players I've seen, some of them I haven't, watched a couple of montages here and there. And I'm definitely excited to see what all these people bring to the board. Really, really excited. I am so happy to be back in Oceania. I don't think you quite understand, Hyper. This is so good.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of EU, NA, kind of coming to my home turf and playing in my field. But yeah, no, you can't go wrong going back home. Though I do want to call you out, man. You only beat Capybara Armadas from stealing from them.
That is true. That is true. I did, and I will underline that right here in front of the chat. I'm telling you right now, I would never beat Warden in a 1v1. I would never beat the rest of those guys in a 1v1. Null, shout out to Null. He's the coach. I've actually been talking with him extensively, and he's actually been teaching me a lot in regards to our strategy, etc. Obviously, nothing behind the books. I don't have any specific information. I'm not strat leaking here, but very helpful. So shout out to him. Shout out to Capybara. They've all been really good. I've played a few games of Wood since I beat him in that quick cash, but I'm telling you right now, if the turn tabled, I would not be winning that fight. So it's good.
Not going pro anytime soon.
No, definitely not. Proto's on the desk. He's not on the sticks.
Don't worry. I've even had coaching from the champions from the major. I'm still not going to go pro from them. Don't you worry about that.
No, definitely.
For today's lineup, we do have 2 matches that we'll be able to watch. One of them being the Capybara Armadas that we've been chatting about versus the Dirty Dawgs. And then later on, we'll be seeing Lagooners. Fengwei, very large, a lot of distance you have to cover, but Monaco, we all know it, but everyone's avoiding it.
Yeah, we have just received confirmation that there was no audio in that scene, Hyper. So thanks for all the talking. We didn't hear any of it. But basically, we'll run it back real quick one time. So the schedule, you saw it. It was on the screen. We weren't. You couldn't hear us. But it's all right. It's season 0. we have to figure all this out, guys. We're the first of the few, so we've got two games this evening. Each team playing two games on two separate maps. You saw that. So map one, Feng Wai City. Hyper said, I think he said something about Chinese culture and it being really cool. We'll forget it. It was a really cool story. I heard it, but you guys didn't. And then obviously Monaco. He could go again in the suspended structures with the clear night. Capybara and Dirty Dawgs, Lagooners, and Weekend of Bernies. Hyper. I mean, run it back one more time if you want, but I'm really excited for both these maps, and I'm really excited for how it's looking to play out for these two games.
Yeah, I'll definitely elaborate a bit more on these maps as well. You know, Fangwei, new map, it's one of the larger ones, kind of fitting just a bit smaller than Banal, a bit larger, definitely way smaller than Kyoto, but let's push that.
Don't say that word in this stream.
No.
No Kyoto. We can't.
Anyway, it's a lovely map that has that nice variation of different styles. You've got the built-up, more condensed side of the city, and then you have the open temple. And there's so much that comes with this map, and it's so beautiful to look at, but also it holds different skill levels. If you do go to the temple, you're looking at sightline galore, where it is open space and spawn manipulation becomes the bread and butter, where you can capture someone off guard. But if you are in that city, you can play inside these buildings, be a bit more sneakier. We find those transports, like here, find those transports between one building to another a lot easier. So it is such a map that you have to think and adapt so quickly depending on the area you are positioned in.
100%. And it opens the door for so many different utility choices, especially with what we saw in not this patch but the patch previous, the M60 buff. Headshot machine at distance, you can have those long range altercations, but on top of that, you've then got the two glitches, which when you're inside of the building, you've got dome shields popping constantly, stuff like that. You are going to see an upgrade on those as well, in terms of their use and their pick rate on the lights, depending on if we see many at all, considering that they have been hit with that many nerfs in recent times. However, the M60 is probably the big one to note. The two glitch grenades is probably another big one to note, as well as the dome shield health reduction as well. Hyper, we've talked about it on our last show together. I talked about it last weekend. Going from 300 down to 250 does affect the heavy's ability to defend. However, we saw in the power shift tournament that me and you covered that heavies were swapping over to barricades. So the shift has been made to some degree. However, whether or not that's going to stick, I'm not sure. We do see dome a lot as well still. However, whether or not it is fully replaced is yet still to be figured out by people. Obviously, the meta is still developing as these changes are announced, which we can't really keep up with. But as you were saying, this map allows for so many different things. It's going to be interesting to see what each team brings. I'm very excited, especially with Cappy, from what I was hearing from Null and the guys there with what they've been practicing and talking about. I'm really excited to see what they bring. I'm very interested to see whether we get like a double medium heavy from them, possibly the standard MHL. Who knows?
Yeah, and you kind of touch on a point that's really, really key here. The medium heavy, this kind of meta to bring two of the same classes into game. Of course, naturally with all leagues, there is a ban to go all three the same. That is a straight up ban, as much as it would be great fun to watch. But the common thing we're seeing, particularly in Europe and in the North American regions, is more heavy medium. But going medium heavy allows for a more faster paced gameplay, as if both players are carrying that defibrillator, they can one drop, bang, straight back up, another drop. The second guy can then come in and bring them back. And you essentially can start using that heavy as a sponge to really absorb it. Naturally, that is his role, but that's just one strat that immediately pops into my head. And then you've got the use of transportation that comes with it. You have both zipline, you've got your jump pad, you then have more access to goo, because a lot of players like to run goo on these classes as well. There's a lot you can play with. However, I'd be more inclined to run heavy because of that damage output and the shield output that comes with it. But that's personal preference, and you know, again, me running with the kind of the champions and understanding what they're running and what MV, no, Alliance isn't announced yet. What MV, Gen G, and all that are running. So those kind of strats together.
Yeah, definitely. Hyper, I'm so excited for this, and I just want your final thought. I think we're getting ready for game one. How are we looking going into this?
I think it should be interesting. You know, of course, my knowledge of the teams compared to your knowledge of these teams are going to be two different things. I know you got know these guys better. And starting off with the Capybara Armadas versus the Dirty Dawgs should be interesting in terms of who is going to be on top, who's going to be taking that advantage off the bat, and it's all going to start off with composition. What are they running? And that could really determine how they play.
100%. We're going to jump right on in. Game number... not to be confused with an interesting celebrity of choice at the moment. We are getting right in to match number one. Fang Away City, ladies and gentlemen. Capybara Armada taking on the Dirty Dawgs in a final round format, not standard cash out. I don't know if we mentioned that, Hyper. We possibly might have missed that one. However, either way, we are getting into it right here.
Oh, spawning really close together. I wouldn't be surprised if we'd be able to get quite an early engagement. Of course, the vault not too far away, so an early tap will give away your position, especially on a map like this. You don't want to be exposing yourself and allowing you to open yourself up for an early fight. But as my screen unfortunately is
full visual issue, unfortunately. I think Hyper is the problem here. We had a few things out of the gate. We got the grey artifacting. We got the team names around the wrong way. It's okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, it is Season 0. Cut us some slack. We may be back. We're trying to figure out what's happening. It looks like a couple of kills back and forth here. Smoke, the first to fall, 3 seconds left. So he's been dead for a while on the respawn there. He hasn't coined in. He is waiting to be revived. And it looks like Capybara Armada are actually running that box over for the plug here on A. So I'm assuming, from what we didn't see, that they've walked away with that first vault fight victory.
Yeah, getting that early first pick will massively help, and it just continues. Capybara will find the second. Thank you very much. He's going to be able to get a bit more aggressive as the Titan. He's got a heavy damage killer. One left alive and a quick wipe to get it all done and dusted. Howdy, Cowboy. The Heavy's in town.
Heavy indeed in town. Ward on the revolver. My. Great way to kick things off. The first kill for him. Quarter on the vault here for the start. Winch Claw to pull it down into the open. Capybara setting themselves up for that height advantage play, putting Dirty Dawgs in a disadvantageous position down below. The ARN in the hands of Zilla and Enzi on that heavy. Deadly combination.
Yeah, we've got to point about this position as well, and what they're running. Winch Claw, they're not running meta. We know that Winch now gets blocked by any form of dome shield, mesh shield, things like that. So this will create a slight disadvantage in terms of that. However, it will mean they can move things around. I'm talking of moving. How about a double? A lot of damage from the M60. It may not get the kills done and dusted, but it helps your teammates greatly.
Yeah, definitely helps greatly. I mean, just with that new buff alone, Headshot Machine, Gynatex trying to make something happen. The Winch Claw, though, and the Ash 12 in the hands of Enzi with a bit of help from his teammates. Capybara Armada definitely in the driver's seat right now. Hyper, we talked about that utility usage. As you said, Winch not being in the main rotation right now. They are looking to center towards the map on screen. The Winch Claw, I mean, already scored them one. It does help move that box into a better position for when you are attempting to protect it, more so than attack it. Vault 2 spawning a fair way away there from Cappy. I think they maybe were waiting to try and get a spawn block in, possibly. If anyone hasn't seen the new videos coming out on YouTube, people are actually now explaining it. It was a heavily guarded secret in the pro scene for a while, but I think it's sort of come out now. And they have got that block for that further spawn. So, again, more strategy on this map. Hyper. The spawns on Fangway, quite fairly spaced. Does that make a difference?
Yes, they are. It makes a massive difference. It's one of those, it's like banal. It's a type of mindset you have to be aware of where you position once you spawn in. So that's why we're seeing these players position themselves quite wide. They're trying to make sure that they are delaying the gameplay. I tell you what, that's a brilliant start though. A good splash of RPG. I will interrupt my little talk as that's 2 down, and we are starting to see the Dirty Dawgs go down once again. And you think there's going to be a little bit of luck on their side, but every time, Capybara just know where they're going to spawn.
They're manipulating it perfectly. As you were quite literally elaborating to less than 10 seconds ago. A little bit of a rebound there. Had to double plug that one. A little bit of rebound, but as you said, there was very big emphasis on the fact that the spawns are an issue. You saw Capybara Armada there. They pushed the spawn away. They set up in that height advantage position. They then have the ability to essentially lock off all rotation from that side of the map. They got the bolt. They let them get it, arguably, because it was easier for them to take the fight from that position when they were crossing to the bolt. And here we go. Dive on in. Gateway gets them up a floor below, looking to drop it down now with the C4, waiting to push above, to cause some problems. Vault comes down. Capybara Armada, nowhere to be seen here. On the left, though, starting to engage. Half health, almost on Enzi. Some good damage. The first to fall. It's actually going to be the light taken out. Smoke looking worse for wear. He's going to fall as well. Giant takes the last alive. Let the M60 sing, but he's not going to find anything. Best shield up to keep himself alive. And Capybara Armada, they're not hanging out with anybody in this building other than each other.
A lot of horizontal fighting, and what I mean by that is we saw originally that Dirty Dawgs were trying to do that European strat of get above them, swap those positions, force Capybara to go down a floor. But if you want to make that happen, you've got to be dropping this box 2 floors down. So that was the first mistake from that push. Second mistake is once they pushed up, they didn't change heights. They were going into a fight that was so neutral, and they're already a cooldown disadvantage. It's not helping them, and now it just becomes a shooting gallery. The R357 is just on point when it's in the right hand. Cowboy is in town. Ward gets another, and then comes the dive on everyone else. Done, dusted. Capybara will take map 1.
Enzi, I've got to say, that is insane on the heavy. The Shack 50 tearing through the opposition. Arguably, I would say one of the breeziest wins we have seen, Hyper, in our time together. I mean, that was a very big difference in gap. We've already got calls in the public chat there that they're stream sniping. So we'll see if I guess that might be an internal review later on. But either way, Hyper, we'll have a quick look at the scoreboard here. I mean, from what we saw, definitely didn't look like only 1 kill on the side of Dirty Dawgs. AU. A bit rough there, unfortunately, for Genetics. Unfortunately, I don't think it was really a strategical issue. I saw their Hyper. Fangway really causing some problems. We've got people peeling off into open areas. We've got crossing those open areas with little to no use of mobility utility. I don't think I saw a jump pad once from Dirty Dawgs there at all, as well as I don't even know if they were running zipline. I didn't see any kind of gate. I think we saw that one gateway where they dove just the floor below. In terms of the movement, nothing. Whereas compared to that, we have Capybara Armada jumping around, diving off of everything. They've got the rotates, the gateways, the jump pads. I mean, it was really night and day difference between these two teams.
Yeah, and just for that 1 kill, salute to the fallen soldier. That's all I can say. Anyways, a lot of these fighting that we are seeing from Dirty Dawgs, and I'm going to elaborate more on this kind of like spawning and how that will link to it, is that a lot of it came from what we call negative to neutral fighting. And what I mean by that is kind of the advantage that you're walking into the fight with. Right? So you can be in a position where you walk into a fight, you've got all your util, you've got beautiful height, and you're looking down on your opponent. Bang. That is what we call a positive fight. Dirty Dawgs weren't doing that. They were either floors down, they were on the same level, and I'm going to reiterate that point that I made earlier in the sense of every time they were headbutting, which is a no-no in all of fighting, all of games, and I'm sure yourself from your original game, Proto, you know that even on like Siege, you don't want to be fighting on the same level. You want to have an advantage looking down. So it's
100%.
seeing that from Dirty Dawgs so often gave me that little bit of an ick, because it's every time they were in a disadvantage, and it links to the fact they had no mobility to get them out of that situation. If they had one jump pad and that they had a TP, bang, jump pad TP, bang,
Yeah.
you bring yourself away, you're able to get yourself out of the fight, make a soft reset, and then come back in. That's really, really what I wanted to see from Dirty Dawgs. But they do have another map to adapt.
They do. They've got one more, and realistically, I think that it just sort of depends, as we've said. It's how they're going to use that utility moving forward. Ideally, the setup they were running in that matchup was very long distance engagement. You had the M60 with that new accuracy buff. You had all of those really long range engagement. You had the RPG, you had all those other things in the hands. You've got dash, you've got I can't remember what weapon the light had. I don't think we actually ever got to see it. Same with the medium. It might have been AK. From memory, I didn't catch it, unfortunately. There was just not much screen time for Dirty Dawgs. They were always on respawn.
No.
So we can theorize, but at least how heavy was set up, it was definitely a long range setup. So we didn't get to see them on any of those long ranges because it was going to be that R357 from distance, knocking them out. Or it was the Shack 50 winch cord in. Thanks very much. Same with the ARN. The ARN was just tearing it up. The ability from Zilla to just jump on down into the street from 50 to 100 meters. Beam, thanks very much. And that was how they were playing their distance. And that was using what they brought with them. They did ideally have that more close range setup with the heavy winch, with the Shack. Ideally playing more of those off angles as the medium light combo, and it worked. They managed it a lot more efficiently, and especially on that map, it was just so much better micromanaged as well. The ability to rotate, the ability to get those spawn blocks, and then, as you said, the ability to play those sort of better positions in terms of height as well as their positive trading. They just had it a lot more micromanaged down to a T as opposed to Dirty Dawgs, which hopefully they've learned. They've possibly had some chance to talk to their coach, or at least amongst themselves between this game, to delegate maybe differently in terms of utility that they're bringing. Then we may not see a change, but we are going on to a completely different map. Monaco does allow for a little bit more of freedom going from point to point between the vaults, between the boxes. So hopefully it does allow them to open up on those long distance engagements and possibly make a bigger impact.
Oh yeah, this is long distance galore. As soon as you get on top of the buildings, if you got yourself a good repeater, you're on fire. It's your haven, it's your bread and butter. No matter how you say it, you love it on this map. It is beautiful. But you also will have those sneaky people who will change up the strat, change up the idea by going indoors and start to play around inside and then pop out at those certain moments. But it does come at a disadvantage to be inside the buildings. You tend to choose the buildings when it becomes a safety net, and then you get those close quarter fights, which becomes chaotic. And when it's a cash out, absolutely, this is a map I love to see it. But on a final round, it is very methodical, and also we know the spawns, we know how to position yourself so often that it can be very dangerous. And also, on the point of map control and spawn points, which has been recently more talked about, you can really force somebody off. The example given was if someone's in Grandma's and you just push far enough, because it's an 80-meter radius from the vault to spawn points, then you put yourself roughly just on the edge of that 80-meter. You then give an additional 50. You spawn over by construction. Like you're way in the distance. There is a lot. Like you would be running 150 meters, which is a huge amount of time. And we see some of those spawns in Banal as well. So the fact Monaco has that capability is very interesting. Whether Oceania will do that, take into account that the styling here at Oceania is aggression, 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 and try and be quick about it, rather than European NA methodical, slow, tactical that we see from that side of things. So I would love to see it, but I'm not expecting it.
100%. Small, I guess, finals reference, as you said, Australia, it's more of that hard hitting, fast paced combat. It is just shock and awe. It is literally shock and awe. You push, you take those kills, and you fight. They prefer fights. Teams will prefer fights over choosing the strategy. Now, obviously, you do get the odd outliers in those groups. Capybara Armada, for instance, as I said, spend some time with their coach, spend some time with their players, and they do come across as more, and I keep referencing them because it's the only team I have talked to. Other teams, please come forward, talk to me. I'd love to get your insight. But they do focus more on the side of they want to push for that spawn trap. They for that spawn block, rather. Sorry, they want to make things harder to achieve in terms of attacking, and they are doing that with a plan. They are not just running around shooting people. Don't get me wrong, that's what it looked like in that first game. It was definitely a slaughterhouse. But continuing forward, obviously we know they have that strategical side as well, and the ability to shoot at fish in a barrel, essentially, which is all they did in that first match. But then on a map like Monaco, as you said, if you've got that light jumping across, Zilla is halfway across the map, he's in that spawn, pushes them back off that vault, thanks very much. And you've got the rest of the gang chilling up on top of church. You know, you've got that repeater, you've got a heavy with an M60, something along those lines, even a Kimbo's. You know, the distance game, it is completely different, and that's just pushing away. That's not even engagements at that point. That is just map control and micromanaging spawns, and that is all it is. We are fixing stream quality. We're sorting out the resolution right now, so we do apologize that you're having to listen to us waffle for an extended period. However, absolutely loving it. I'm just so excited to be back in Oceania. I really enjoyed that first game, and Hyper, I think realistically we've got probably the best of the bunch the first few games on tonight.
I think we do. I'm very interested about the Lagooners and Weekend and Bernies, which will be coming up after this map. Remember, just a reminder of the format of the Oceania League for those who have just joined the stream. If you have, welcome. You're wondering why there's a Brit in here. Well, the other one is technically a Brit as well. So it's happening.
We don't tell
again.
people that, though.
Anyways, it's two maps that they will play per week. Of those two maps, you do gain some lovely little points, and then we do a round robin. Everyone plays everybody, so there is a fairness amongst all. The top four will advance to the finals, where they will go into a playoff and where we'll crown the Oceania Finals champion. But a little page note that actually I wasn't told, but I feel should be mentioned. We would love more of you. We would love more of you. If we can get up to 16 teams, we can get official points towards the finals and the closed qualifiers. Well, the open qualifiers towards the major, which will be happening some point after August, I believe. Around about that time, of course, is when the RFI points will start to close, and then they will start to accordingly set them into position. So please, if you are sitting here going, I wonder if I should join. Yes, doesn't matter your skill level. It's an open event. Come in, have some fun, and see if you got a shot. Because let's be real, I will kind of draw us a little bit towards the Grand Major. Gen G, which was Q to Love now, they're back to Q to Love. They were just a bunch of friends. They were a bunch of friends, 4 guys who were just playing together, who somehow overcame pros, including Polestar's team major. So if they can do it, so can you. So take it as inspiration. So please, next season 1, come and join the OFL.
Yeah, definitely. And that's anybody in APAC. That's Asia. That's all of Asia. That's Australia. That's everyone close by. If you've got some friends, we really want to get this off the ground. Obviously, we're going to have as much fun as we can with 6 teams, but get everybody in. we'll have some fun. We're heading on in to game number 2, Hyper Capybara Armada versus the Dirty Dawgs. We know the names, we know the players, we know the game. We're going to jump right on in to this second match. Let's get into it.
Let's get it. See if the dogs have learnt a new trick. You can teach them well, but whether they retain it with their small little soft brains and adorable brains, that is a question mark within itself. But I'm sure these Dirty Dawgs can pull something out the bag as they for once, will start with height. And it's almost like they did listen to us. Great starting position to force Capybara into hiding.
You could say that maybe they even stream sniped that information. It might be too early for that joke. However, I'm going to make it anyway. We've got a bit of a freeze again. So we don't know what is happening right now. But if it's anything for us to go off of from that first matchup, Capybara Armada are, well, still in a pretty good position. They haven't got any kills just yet, unless something's happened that we haven't seen off screen. But neither of these teams wanting to forfeit that height advantage. We've got goo walls set up. They are hunting for the members of Capybara Armada who look like they're setting up to possibly go for a pad here to get that height advantage on the church. Maybe even rotate to play the vault security instead, Hyper. I'm not too sure of the plan here, but the spot has been made, and now they know the game plan.
Yeah, they didn't want to use the gateway just yet. They needed a better rotation, hence why it was a push. But that is brilliant as they have left one. They created a pinch. This is fantastic to see the light staying in position. Force the rotation. Now we have a change in power. Capybara, height advantage. RPG has done a fantastic job, and they've only got one left to go. Thankfully, the M60 from the Heavy can keep it going. But that is tactical from Capybara.
That was insane. They are now going to get the activation on the vault as well and pop this for the first. They'll be able to get Zilla back into the fray. And I mean, you talk about strategy. We talked about Australia being that shock and awe region, and right there was proof, ladies and gentlemen, that we can still do some thinking down under. You've got the two drawing the attention while Zilla sits in the back with the ARN and absolutely lasers down the competition, which secures Capybara the first box, and they're going to run off with it into the Sunset Ward, taking some damage on the way out. But my God, that was cinema. Coin in as well, by the way, for the Dirty Dawgs. No reviving for genetics, and they are now going to walk away with this first blood. Capybara Armada once again in that advantageous position.
Yeah, great start. They still haven't been able to put it in just... Oh, sorry, I do mistake evidence to the bar at the top. They have put it in. So now the pressure and the clock starts to mount up, but with 2 minutes to go and capture, they got plenty of time. These suspended structures are a bit annoying to get into, so you have to be quite smart in how you approach. You got to either use your jump pads, push your way across, which we are seeing a lot of util early from Dirty Dawgs, which makes these fights so much harder as the Heavy gets dropped down to half health. Thankfully, healing beam is there. Salute to the fallen soldier, and they will drop to the floor.
Yeah, it's definitely a big difference here between these two. The utility, you spoke about it. They attempted to make the cross. We have lost visual once again, so I'm assuming everybody's still in the game, but we can only hope. Again, we talked about in that first game, Hyper, no movement from Dirty Dawgs, no jump pad there to get across, no goo wall jump pad to get the distance. They didn't try and dive. They didn't try and RPG onto the point. They didn't do much at all. Speaking of diving, Capybara up and down, trying to find par on the roof across from them, directly adjacent. Genetics pushing down, almost gets back to safety, but he's punished. It's a light 1v1. Zilla comes out on top. It's now all smoke. Capybara Armada looking for the wipe. They're going to clean up the kitchen. Dishes in the washer. Thanks very much.
Zilla doing brilliant. I was about to call out Zilla and go, man, you're over-aggressing. You're pushing yourself out into the open, leaving yourself in a horrible position. Nah, he kited the Dirty Dawgs and forced them and lured them into a sense of security, being able to first chase him down and force them onto point where the rest of the team were there to capitalize on that mistake. So, Zilla, you got me confused for a second, but brilliant brilliant work to get them into a disadvantaged position. But first cash out done. It feels, I wouldn't say fully deja vu, but it is getting that same sense.
It's close. It's very close. It's difficult to sort of say, and you can't really write the story before it's finished. But the dive from Capybara across, they are looking to get active and involved here. Once again, however, playing as a group instead, they're looking to get this glitch through. Will, not connecting, unfortunately, from Zilla. They are just playing the waiting game. They know that all of Dirty Dawgs are in this house right now. Will they spot the light running in the street? No. Enzi just missing out. Hyper, things are getting tense, waiting for the pickup of Vault 2.
Yeah, no one again wants to go and touch this. If you are the Dirty Dawgs, you've got to have a good escape plan to play with. If you are Capybara, you've got to sacrifice your height. So there's a lot of disadvantaged position, and we are starting to see Capybara move a bit more. They're going for the hunting mentality. They know that they can outshoot the Dirty Dawgs, so why stay put? Why wait and allow there to be a quick steal? Instead, they're going straight for it as the aggression comes forward. Again, just can't get enough damage. We are seeing Zilla wait patiently as he plays from height. One down. Now they can go for the full push, knowing there's a disadvantage of players, as we are seeing the heavy able to go down again. A quick defib will bring it back, but a comeback will finally come through. Dirty Dawgs getting a kill on the board. It won't be for long as the full team of Capybara is on foot.
It's Smoke too, and he has managed to get a second before being taken out. The FK in the right hands, absolutely devastating. Stalling on the zip line here, looking to find this last. They want the team wipe, but they also need to move this Vault. It's actually going to be Smoke to start running it over towards where it needs to go. Capybara Armada once again get the revive. Zilla with that ARN looking to take the life, gets the support from the teammate that he needs. However, the rest of Dirty Dawgs have coined in, so it's not going to be the full wipe with the 25-second. Unfortunately, he was able to stall, and that is another big part of the finals. Stalling for your team to get back in. You don't lose the percentage. I guess it doesn't matter so much in final round format, but good practice and good mentality to take forward. They'll probably be able to get him revived here as well. But Capybara Armada, a little bit more challenged in that gunfight, in and out of those buildings, and they definitely not struggled, but they were tested playing in those close quarter combat fights. So good to see the Dirty Dawgs utilising that, but it wasn't enough to be a game changer in that instance.
Yeah, definitely was a lot stronger for the Dirty Dawgs, and I will agree on the terminology of tested. Really did test their ability, unfortunately. And I will criticize Smoke just very slightly here. You threw the Vault to the cash out. You made it easier for the Capybara, man. It was. I get the mentality, and the idea is to throw it away, make it harder, and do that. I get it. So hats off for the idea. Execution just wasn't there. But this is an awkward cash out. It's very low. It's very hard to get to, and the heavy's been isolated, left alone outside. The shield can't do much, and now the teammates quickly jump in, trying to get one last surprise attack, as it is a neutral fight on the ground. Smoke left alive to try and 1v3 them all. Nope, it's done and dusted, and 22 seconds to go on the respawn. We're looking at about 30 seconds left on the cash out. It will be a sprint and a one last hope if they can get a steal to come through.
Yeah, only a quarter left on the second cash out. And to be completely honest with you, Hyper, it's looking like it is going to be a complete 2-0 here for Capybara Armada. They're just shuffling the box around to exactly where they want it. RPG's in the hand. They got rid of the zipline. I mean, I don't even think that they're going to get too close at all. They are going to attempt. Dome Shield comes out to block for Genetics here, but he's basically lost in the fray already, and the whole lot of them go down like dominoes. Capybara Armada, no questions asked in that last fight. It was a last Hail Mary for the Dirty Dawgs, and unfortunately did not pay out. GG's in the chat, and I'd argue, Hyper, one of the easiest final rounds that we have seen to date.
Yeah, it was... is a lot of it easier fight for Capybara, unfortunately to say. But there was a lot more improvement. I'll give Dirty Dawgs that.
Yeah.
First of all, from one kill 3
Tripled.
kills, baby. Let's go. Let's go. We tripled the score. Sorry.
Tripled
We
the
love you, Dirty Dogs. We
scoreboard.
love you.
We do. Please come back.
We'll come back. We're gonna rein it back in. Yeah. So a major improvement on that. We saw that they were actually testing Capybara's buildings, and we started to see that they were trying to utilize indoor space, that close quarter fighting, a lot more than they were previously. Because with Fung One, it is very outdoory, out in the open, unless you get that one site where it is just the built-up, closed old city. Then you have an advantage to play there. But Monaco is all about those buildings, and as soon as the Dirty Dogs went inside, we started to see Capybara second-guess themselves, and in doing so, they were missing those opportunities. They were starting to waste a bit more utility to then, to the surprise, the pounce to come through. Of course, we've got to give kudos to Smoke and his ability to carry that team as well.
Yeah. Single-handedly, mind you. The delay alone there, allowing the coin back in, was levels, because it put them in a position to continue fighting, or at least regroup, to then go and have a go at something, whether it was a steal, stop the vault, whatever. One thing I do want to talk about very quickly is the rotate there from Top Church with the jump pad, diving across, strafing right into nowhere near the cash out. I don't know whether the choice was made midair to try and take the height from the floating platform on the right and then fight across the road into the sort of like floodway. I'm not sure what the call was there, but essentially your medium and your light strafed off to the right. Your heavy went dead straight because he's essentially a big boulder that continues gaining velocity, and he got caught out. All of Capybara were able to dive down off that roof, finish him quickly, and then essentially it was just mopping up what was left. And ideally, I'd say that probably wasn't very good, but we'll keep that between us. I'm not trying to hate. I'm not trying to pick too much. It's just something I noticed. I don't know what the call was there, but that arguably cost them the chance of attacking that cash out. That is arguably the one thing that stopped them from even having a chance to fight that box and have that extra attempt at getting that cash out. And that was the difference maker in that second cash out there, completely different to the first, where we saw them in those buildings causing problems, almost getting the wipe at one point, very close to it, to then just losing it. I mean, there wasn't much else we could really say. I'd argue that was probably the turning point on that last cash out.
Yeah, it definitely was the turning point. And I want to point out one last thing before we hop over to a short break, and that was the fake that was done at the very first vault fight that opened up. Capybara was potentially put in a chokehold for the first time, and they pulled out the strap book. All of them started going one direction. Nah, let's let the light gateway to the opposite way, creating a surprise pinch. And that was beautiful because, first of all, Capybara were able to find themselves a height that was higher than the Dirty Dogs, which is, you know, for the Dirty Dogs, they were quite surprised they even made that rotate in the first place. They got some information, they knew it was coming, repositioned to counter it. But then out of nowhere, Zilla just TP'd across, gatewayed into back behind them, and you just didn't see that coming, and they were backstabbed. The damage that came from Zilla was incredible, and then the rest of the team who had that height could then dive on top of them. And we are seeing a lot of diving from the Capybaras to then finish off their prey. So I loved that start from the Vaults. It was an intense match, but we do need to breathe out. We do need a break as we get the next teams in. So we will be back after a short while with more The Finals. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Map game 1 has been completed, and we started off with a little bit of a wipeout with a 2-0, 2-0 situation, but I'm hoping not to go 2-0 and 2-0 in my scoreboards. Not like Proto, who has claimed to shame to say that he has beaten a pro. I tried to rhyme, but it ain't my time. Proto, how are we doing?
Yeah, good. After that one, I'll recover from the cringe, but I'll do that later off camera when I have a cry about it. We are back. Game number 2. This guy laughs. We are looking at another good one, Lagooners versus Weekend at Bernie's. I'm very excited. A couple of names on these rosters that I would like to highlight. Lagooners currently... let me just pull it up 2 seconds. Fun facts for you. A couple of their members are currently sitting on the Ruby leaderboards. I believe all 3, actually. And they are all sitting at quite top 50k. So quite good. Zilla is actually also sitting at 24,000. So I didn't know that before we went into this game, or at least for last season. It might not be as of current, but it may well be. Axolotl, I ran into him in a game, and I will tell you right now, that guy's crazy. To the point where everyone on my team, who were just randoms, thought he was cheating. So good to see him fighting in his debut here on the OFL. Very, very keen to see what happens. Eyes on. Definitely going to be Lagooners for me. If anyone wants to know who to watch, it's going to be them in this matchup.
Yeah, of course, they're going to have to go against Weekend at Birdies, which should be a good fight. Microchip, Keldor, and Class will be fighting against them, and if they do put their substitute, we can't forget our substitute for Lagooners, it's Rusty Pete, and then the substitute for Weekend at Bernie's is Demon Hunter. And no, it's not the Huntrex Demon Hunters, you fools. The Grammys are done, the song is dead, leave it over there.
Oh, that's hated opinions.
We got the disclaimer out.
Hated opinions on the caster desk.
Great song.
It is,
I'll listen to that all day. But
great song.
Great song. Anyways, we're rerunning it back. I'm sorry if you hear the slamming of the desk every 2 seconds, but we're running it back. We're going back to the same 2 maps. It's Fengwei first. Once again, this has been an interesting map to kick things off. And when we saw last time the Capybara Armadas against those Dirty Dawgs on Fengwei, it was one-sided. We saw one side had better map control. But you've mentioned already, Proto, about Lagooners and their Ruby position. Do you feel that they have mastered or should have mastered the Fengwei City map by now?
I feel like it's a pretty staple map. Not only in terms of competitive, but in terms of ranked. Obviously, it comes with its own challenges. We've already delved into those a little bit. But as a team that is, well, you could argue most of the teams have little to no comp experience in terms of the finals, because obviously not much has happened in Oceania from, I guess, since the get-go. We've had a few things here or there. Obviously, there are still scrims that happen, things like that. But in terms of top-ranking players, usually across most games, it's where you see all the competitive players coming from in this region, because they are the guys who learn how to stomp on pretty much anyone that's put up in front of them. That's why they're at the top in our region. And that is where the OCE playstyle comes from. They are just pub stompers with a little bit more glorification, because they're not stomping pubs, they're stomping comps. So, hard to say whether or not it makes a difference in terms of whether or not they'll be any good at Fengwei City. But if it's anything to go off based on where they're ranked, based on how they play, etc., I definitely will say it's probably safe to assume that these guys know how to play the finals, and they definitely know how to play pretty much most of the maps you're going to put in front of them, because they've been doing it to get to that top end point season after season since the game came out.
Yeah, you'd expect it, especially at that level.
You'd hope.
But hey, there are always surprises. There's always surprises when you play the finals, because no game is the same. Come on, let's remember what we're playing here. But looking ahead, we saw from strategy-wise, we kept to the usual compositions, light, medium, heavy from the last 2 matches. I feel it's going to be a lot of the same. I feel the only one that could be different is Weekend at Bernie's. I feel this being a bit of a question mark, a little bit of a wild card. Could we start to see those different abilities to come out? It's not uncommon. It's not unheard of. Look at Hammer, Knives, and Brisket. That's from the EU. See, the EUNA side of things. That's a sledgehammer. That's throwing knives. And it is a standard weapon, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, definitely not.
The Bowsers! Let's light up the arena. Move to cash out B.
.101. That is a type of composition that wants to either get close, get them moving, get them running around, and individually they know they can win their fights. So, and then you have that heavy is that little bit of meat, bit of a decoy that you kind of use to your advantage. That's the vibe I'm getting. But of course, there are many different ways. You could actually play quite passive as a light and play more reconnaissance that helps the heavy do most of the damage and doing the legwork. So I would say it's 50-50 of how they will approach with this, but I'm not against it. I kind of like it.
No, definitely not. I mean, the other thing to keep in mind as well in terms of utility being bought, going up against that traditional HML combo with the HLL, they've got 4 glitch grenades on that 25-second cooldown. That is essentially no dome shield, no healing, no nothing for what? 20, 30 seconds possibly of constant denial if they're just continuously chucking them on a staggered approach as well. You'll probably get full recharge to get more back in there, as well as the fact that you've got the ability with those H infusers to out heal a healing beam in terms of heals per minute, obviously, because it heals just that little bit faster. But if you've got 2 of them, the heavy essentially is bulletproof. You're not going to have to stop pushing as the heavy. You chuck your dome down, a couple of H infusers, thanks very much. But it depends what the lights are running. We didn't get to see, obviously. I think we saw about 3 seconds of that match. And then basically it's whether or not what guns they're running as well. We could have shotguns, we could have long range. It depends. Obviously more geared towards the M11 and the ARN at the moment in terms of light meta. You don't really see the shotgun too much, the double barrel or the pump action, both of them. Either way, I'm not sure. We didn't get to see. So I can only speculate, Hyper. But based on just the utility we've talked about, even just the healing as well as the glitch grenades, the HLL could be good, but it depends how they use it.
You're forgetting one key possibility that could really annoy everybody. Dagger and swords. That, if they run that as a light, I'm telling you now, I'm walking out of here. I do not deal with lights or any form of person that runs melee, apart from Sledge. No, I respect Sledge. But other than that, I do
not
respect anything
Guys,
else.
Don't get him started. Roll it back.
Boundless are looking to make a name for themselves. First cash out started.
Attack down there! Team, stick together! Enemy, down there, damn it!
Lagooners setting up their own, diving in to that negative position. Not quite neutral just yet, pushing towards it, but looking to find the entrance, waiting for the dive. They're going to make their way up, causing an issue here for Weekend at Bernie's. It's about to kick off. The first bit of damage comes out on the Mr. Axolotl. First RPG diving in on top of the roof. Some good damage back and forth. Rusty Pete looking a little worse for wear. Chico, though, reduced to not a great deal. The HMPs are putting him back into it, but here comes the jump pad. Glitch grenade one. Gets rid of the dome shield. Rusty Pete to find the first. Looking for a trade. Weekend at Bernie's trying to keep themselves in it. They're going to go for the revive very quickly right off the rip here. Just above the remaining member of Pink on the roof there. Mr. Axolotl off screen, guys, as well. Gateway to move over. Rusty Pete, the final member alive, and Weekend at Bernie's. They've got the cash out, and they've almost won this team fight as well. They just need to find Rusty Pete. But that is an insane first fight.
That was intense. A very close battle. Weekend and Bernie's going from a lower position, quickly jump high, able to get Lagooners down into an awkward position. It was very, very bold. Rez coming in and then doing so has been successful to then get the last bit of damage from Weekend and Bernie's to get the melee to finish it off. Brilliant, brilliant work. And just like that, how quickly Lagooners are back in this fight with only a slither to go. We're talking less than 20 seconds to go and push the point. It's going to have to be a full bunker. Straight in, Winch will get you a lot of damage. A good dome shield still starts coming through. Now you've got 7 seconds to hold it down. Can they ever get the steal to come through? Dome shield's gone, drop down, and the cash out's gone through. Weekend and Bernie's will take it, but the fight will continue.
Rages on into the dead of the night. Mr. Axolotl for one. Chico to find his own. It's now just Microchip looking to stall for as long as he can, but it doesn't really matter. A reset's probably what's needed here for Weekend at Bernie's. They can regroup in their own time here, have a bit of a chat. But, I mean, Hyper, the defense there, amazing. Good use of the glitch grenade. I mean, that was cinema. An absolutely insane push, but unfortunately didn't go through. Weekend at Bernie's just able to hold that one out. Great use of the utility. Glitch to get off, drop him down with the red barrel, move on to the team fight. Yes, they inevitably lost it, but does it really matter if you lock in that 25k?
The fight is still important for pride, for ego. It makes you feel amazing. So yes, I do feel it is important. Unfortunately, just that steal not going through, and they're gonna kick themselves for it. A split attack as they are trying to pin the two that's away from points, as we are trying to seeing that Weekend and Bernie's to split themselves to create the Lagooners create themselves a wide stance, but already 2 have dropped. Shea Class left alive, as he will have to try and keep one of his teammates alive. Microchip now left alive, as unfortunately just the stampede from Lagooners will get the job done and deny the push from Weekend and Bernie's.
And that is the benefit of having 2 lights. The DPS output, absolutely insane. Both running similar setups, I believe. But that's the difference. They are just hitting these other members of Weekend at Bernie's so hard to the point where they are having to disappear. I mean, there have been some questionable moments. Laguna obviously getting that questionable revive on the roof of the church, but as I say that, I'm interrupted. RPG comes out from Lagooners, does not do much. Dome shield perfectly placed by Microchip, diving up on the jump pad, looking to get active. It's 2 down already though for Lagooners. Weekend at Bernie's are making a comeback. They're going to be able to get this steal too, unless Chico can deny. He is the heavy, can play with that C4, possibly RPG, drops down due to one of the ladder. It is a winch claw in play too, but he's not close enough to deny and pull it away. He's going to go for the reset, tries to get one on his way out, but it's going to be the full 25 seconds and a very swift 2-0 for Weekend at Bernie's in game number 1.
A very swift 2-0. And honestly, well fought. We get a Bernie. We talked about how good the Lagooners are, how well ranked they are. That these guys should be the ones we keep an eye on. But that's individual performance. We say
Yeah,
about how
it
they're
is.
pub stompers. Yeah, great. You're good at on ranked, but you're not necessarily good with your teammates. So that has shown that weekend at Bernie's, well, they do need to spend a weekend with Bernie to get it right. And I love it. I loved what I saw here.
Yeah, I can't argue. And what we saw here was really, really good. I mean, it was straight business. Weekend at Bernie's. You cannot say too much. They didn't necessarily have to play for too much fight. It was more denial, especially what you saw in that first cash out. They utilized their utility a lot better. And I think the difference between the two come down to composition just a little bit. Having those two lights does mean that you have a very squishy team, which we did see, especially when you have such a strong static output of consistent damage on a medium as well as a heavy. I mean, the M60, whatever you choose to use, realistically, it's a high-ish DPS gun. But then you look at the buffs that just came out for guns like the FCAR. The FAMAS has probably ideally one of the highest TTKs in terms of weapons available to the mediums at the moment. And you saw that being a very big difference maker. Those lights constantly just tripping over, hitting their heads, and they were always out of the fray. And then the heavy, again, you just get left in that 1vx situation, whether it's maybe multiple, whether it's just a 1v1. You can put out only as much damage. The denial capability of the heavy was really good. You saw the C4 drop, attempt at the second with a Witch Claw, etc., but still already come out at that point. But the management was there. I just don't think that the comp worked for them how they were intending it to. They kept the heavy alive, which was probably the main idea. But in terms of getting those opening picks in those team fights to allow them to have that advantageous position, it just wasn't happening. We saw it at the end of Cash Out 1, but going into Cash Out 2, after that jump pad dive, it was over before it even started.
Yeah, and I want to build a bit more on how that composition's not working from a more map positioning, because we saw Weekend at Bernie's, they started in disadvantaged positions at times, or they were in essentially a state that they shouldn't be winning this fight, and then next thing you know, Lagooners are coming in, and then either one, over exceeding, or two, they're trying to utilize the light in a way that it should. And we saw particularly on that on the first cash out, okay, in this situation, Weekend and Bernie's had all the initial control, but we were seeing as soon as the fight initially broke out, everyone stuck together, great, lovely. And then once things got a little hairy, being a light, you can back away and get out of the fight. And in doing so, you then expose your other two teammates. And we saw that twice in that fight, where both lights individually in different moments stepped away, and then their teammates suffered a lot of damage and put themselves in isolating positions. So great to have two lights, great to have that mobility, but it then comes at a cost if you overuse it too much. So they need to stay together, still have that sight line, and then keep that damage flow going, even when you're trying to soft reset.
Yeah, definitely. And don't soft reset above the enemy on the roof next to them. That might be, that might also be a good one to take away from that matchup. That was Weekend at Bernie's. I'm just pointing it out, guys. I'm just pointing it out. For Lagooners, that was probably an easy kill that was missed, unfortunately, due to the fact that they were also, I believe, a player down at that point. But either way, just a funny little ha-ha there. We are getting match number 2 ready. Hyper, I mean, after game number 1, obviously a little bit of a struggle when we did get into it for Lagooners, as we spoke about those sort of upper end ranked players, either they're Rupee very close to it, have been before, etc. Now we push towards the penultimate game for them here, the final one for this evening, going into Monaco. How do we think that they are stacking up against Weekend at Bernie's? You spoke about, obviously, the difference between ranked and competitive. Do you think that it's going to make a difference in that more, I suppose, pubby style map that does allow them to play like that? Or do you think that Weekend at Bernie's is going to lock it out?
I think you nailed it on the head. The map is a very pubby style map. You can be more free. You can be more aggressive. You can take advantage of these buildings a lot better. So I would say that this should start to favor Lagooners from just what we've been seeing. However, Weekend and Bernie's are very methodical. They are very strat orientated. They stick together. They stick together, or they have set standing positions that I love to see. That constantly gives them a sight line of the sights. You can see the way they're always facing towards where the spawn should be. So they've done their spawn knowledge and spawn practice. It will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how Lagooners change things up. I do feel, though, they may switch one of those lights to either a heavy or a medium and run off something like that, because it's worth a try. It is always worth a try to see if it's going to work, but I think running it back a light, heavy again is not the call here. Not on this map.
No.
Even though it's great for it, just not right now.
No, probably not. Probably not in the well, I say the state that they were in. I mean, it's not really that, is it? But we are going to jump.
Watch out! Here! Teleport here! I'll watch this.
I'm for and against this, but hey, it's all about comfort at the end of the day. If you're comfortable with it, run with it. If if you change it too much, it will throw you off your game. So, okay, I'll respect it. I'll leave it. We'll let it do its thing. But nonetheless, we'll see how this turns out. But it is going to be a little pause again, as we are having a few more technical difficulties. I think CNS is attacking our servers once again, and via security systems need to be updated. Buddies, I've told you many times, update them. Update them.
We might have to call Holotow Insurance at this point. We need a new server. Look, it is what it is. Season 0, always going to be issues. As much as we know it's annoying, trust me, it is for everybody. So please bear with us. We are doing our best. It looks like not too much has happened in game. I believe it may be paused. They're trying to figure out what's happening. Regardless of that, the very, again, quick snippet that we got of the introduction to that game, Hyper, we spoke about the fact that they've kept their composition, possibly something to do with comfortability. I know, for instance, that Mr. Axolotl loves to play his light, so whether or not he gives that up, not too sure. But who knows? As you said, I think it's got something to do with them being quite confident with who they play in regards to their positions, whether it's heavy, medium, light, etc. Whether or not that's going to make a difference. As Monaco could be. If they've changed the weapons that they're bringing, if we maybe see a shotgun, double barrel shotgun could be crazy for the lights here, going in and out of the buildings, jumping up on the roofs. If we see like a Zilla, where they're doing those wraps with the gateways, I mean, it could definitely be a difference maker. Get one, disappear, thanks very much. But whether or not that's what they're doing, I have no idea currently. I believe from the screenshot that I can see here that we have in the production side, we may be looking at an ARN. I'm not too sure what we have got one ARN, possibly two. I can't quite make out what that is in the still image there, but either way, depending on the utility, the light could be good.
It very could be, but we should...
It's going to be a rehost. That's okay. Well, what we may do, what we may do is talk some more. I don't know what to say. It's unfortunate, but it happens. Especially with the lobby bugs we've been having at the moment on the finals. There's not really much else we can do. It could be something to do with, how everything's coming through to us. It could be a bitrate thing. No idea. We're trying to figure it out behind the scenes. And shout out to production. They're doing their best. We do really appreciate the work that they do. Other than that, though, unfortunately, Hyper, there's not really a great deal that we have left to talk about while we remake the lobby here.
We're going to get to the point where we're going to start talking about our favourite sandwich. Yeah, we could start talking about that. But we'll just talk more about Weekend and Bernie's. And how well they kicked off this match, how well they've kind of, I would say, surprised us going into this, because we initially kind of sat down, we were like, oh, this could be a wild card team, and they've really stepped up to go, you know what, we're not a wild card team, we are here to really play amongst the top.
And they are all that Ruby level as well. They are up there. Got confirmation. I wasn't too sure. I didn't want to say anything, and then they were like, golds or something. But they're not. They are all at that Ruby level as well, which you can tell. You can tell by the way they play. They're not just running around. They're not just aim duelers. They had a little bit of strategy. Yes, a lot of those fights were very sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but a lot of headbutting going on. Very much neutral positions across the board. We only saw that micromanagement of the height maybe a couple of times compared to Capybara. But yeah, look, going forward, Hyper, I think hopefully for this second game, they've maybe learned their lesson.
Yeah, hopefully so, hopefully so. In the meantime, we're going to take a very, very short break while we try and fix things up. So grab yourself a lovely brew and make yourself feel comfortable, because though the sun may not be shining for you right now, it definitely will shine within the game. We'll be back in a few.
Yeah, I like the specifically pun there. In the meantime, we have actually had a swap. So we're not going to see the double light. We are going LMH, LMH. Whether or not that is something that is decided outside of the match, I'm not sure, but small skirmish at the start. Rusty Pete and Microchip taking a fair bit of damage. They're going to get healed up to back full Hyper as they start to move their way towards this first vault. And it is going to be Weekend at Bernie's getting that activation.
Yeah, tap done. And I want to talk about Rusty Pete. You said about how he's changed to medium, but D-Mat? What is this, season 7? Are we going for like the whole drop down situation? D-Mat is not as powerful as it used to be, but it can still be useful. We saw teams use it in the last Grand Major as well, that being Vanguard were a key team that were happy to run D-Mat and made good use of it, even though they went out quite early. But we are seeing the Titan still in play. Chico still running it. It could be a high power, high DPS weapon that really does capture you off guard, much like the capture from Microchip. We'll say thank you very much. We get the RPG to help finish it off and an early advantage as we get a Birdies. We'll be able to get one, and in doing so, move that vault just a bit out of the way.
Yeah, they're starting to move it, but this is why you play the repeater. One headshot there, and all that was required was a small headshot to finish things off. The huge damage output, especially onto those light characters, if you can hit them hard enough. Mr. Axolotl, some great DPS here on the roof, using the dash to get away, rotating with his teammate. They're playing this high ground, keeping Weekend at Bernie stuck inside this house, but the push comes out. Microtrip with that Lewis gun, dealing some good damage, but it is Shay. Rusty Pete as well to chase what's left. Weekend at Bernie still 3 strong. They are finally going to get that revive back on the board. Shay bringing his teammate back to life, but some great damage. Mr. Axolotl causing lots of problems. He's possibly going to get put down here. No, gets away. The Lewis gun just out of ammo, but he's going to make it out. His teammates returning to the fray. BFR in the back line doing some good damage, but it's not quite enough Hyper to make a difference just yet from up above.
No, it seems like every time you think they've got an opportunity to completely get it done and dusted, there's a retaliation that comes through, and now we're seeing the Lagooners going downhill a bit further. Chico, the next one to fall, as still there is Shake Us down on the floor. Finally, we get the wipe, and after what was 3 minutes of straight, well, I'd say realistically straight fighting, no. We finally get a wipe that comes through. And what makes it worse is we've got 8 seconds left. They've only just picked up the vault. They might not be able to get this plug in, and we might get a secondary fight.
Yeah, it's looking... Oh, no. Guys.
Oh, no.
Can we cut away from that? Please make sure no one clips that. And we've got no B-roll of that one. It didn't happen. Essentially, what we're watching right now, Hyper, is a bit of just a TDM match. These two teams are still only just being plugged, quite literally. Not great in terms of attacking. Obviously, they have to still make their plays up towards each other to play for that height. It's going to be the first here. Shay finding the opener, takes down one, traded Microchip for a second, a full wipe here now for Weekend at Bernie's. They are in full swing as they get that team wipe. When they came up onto that equal playing field in terms of the neutral position, it really shows a difference between these two teams. Lagooners, just too squishy. Even with that extra medium, they're not managing their healing well enough to be taking these fights.
No, and especially how open this site is. It's so difficult. Yeah, adding into the now suspended structures does massively help, but it's definitely not going to be enough. The RPG is going to land on top of the dome shield, not going to do too much damage, and Laguna struck right into the thick of it. A big Lewis gun kill, opening things up. Axolotl down on the floor, Rusty Pete down to low health. So is Chico as he's trying to get aggressive. He gets one. Says thank you very much for the Titan. Now it's down to Rusty Pete. He's got to find a way to bring one back. Now there is hope. Similar health, but very quickly we're seeing the light of Keldor coming in, getting more damage. Back to full health is the full of Weekend at Bernie's, but just like that, it is done and dusted. Lagooners, last-ditch attempt at a great attack. However, that RPG did not splat the way it wanted to.
That was a great jump pad, and whether or not they caught that gate just before it went off, and it was Shay that managed to get that pad down just in time. Weekend at Bernie's walking away with his first cash out. I mean, that was it was perfect. Not contested at all. And some reason behind that is that Lagooners are struggling with playing as a group. You see the heavy drop. He's not being followed by anybody. Your medium doesn't have heal beam. He's got DMAT looking for this fight. The RPG there. I mean, even just missing things like that. Shooting the roof a couple of times. Heavy's traded instantly. Axolotl gets one, but it's not really worth much for his troubles unless they can find the other. Revive as well here now. They're finding Microchip. They've turned it around. It's all up to Keldor, the last member of Weekend at Bernie's. He's trying to get one, but he's not even going to do that. Lagooners, we just were mentioning how they weren't playing with each other, but my, that is how you turn a fight around.
I tell you what, that was a lot better from Lagooners. It was once they had a defensive position and just knowing that Weekend Bernie's going to push them, you could always feel that they were at ease. They were a lot more comfortable, and we did see that from the previous game as well. When they did go into that second cash out, when they had control, they were very much winning those fights, and vice versa. We see it once again on the Vault battle where they had that map position, where they knew where they were coming from. Bang, they were able to win that fight and make sure that no one could go further.
Yeah, definitely a lot better, but you do still have the issue, I suppose, with the utility usage. In that fight, perfect instance, DMAT one of them. We haven't seen it once. Yes, it's great for denial. Yes, it's great for rotation, but you can change a team fight if you just take someone out of the equation. DMAT them through the roof. See what happens. Mr. Axolotl, he actually wins the ego challenge there. He will be traded, but you've got to give him a point on the board for the light. 1v1 there. They are going to get him back in the fray. Great headshot. BFR Titan, arguably probably the main difference maker for this team in this matchup. They're just holding onto the box, though, while Axolotl comes back. They're going to hold it up on top of Church here in this position, possibly rotate it a little bit. Not too sure the game plan, but it is moving ever so slightly back and forth. Just stalling, but they're doing it perfectly. This is textbook on getting your team back into a position where they can actually fight.
Yeah, and what's also good here is that we could already see that Weekend at Bernie's defending 1 point, and then they're not allowing Lagooners to go any further. Aggression starts to come forward, and that is beautiful to see. Lagooners down to 2. Axolotl with such low health has to somehow stay alive, but so does Keldor as well. Both lights doing aggressive work, and both heavies, well, the medium and the heavy staying alive. I love that! Oh, God! Brother, get that filth out of here! As the fight still continues, Repeater is going to do a lot of damage, but you have to be hitting the shot. It's the heavy with a Lewis gun. Will do more damage in terms of accuracy. Oh, these ego fights are beautiful.
As beautiful as they are, I'm going to be the person to say it. They're so unnecessary. We don't need them. Play together. Rotate the box. Yes, you want to get the kill. Yes, you want to get the wipe. But looking at how things go, I believe we've had a reset possibly. I'm not sure whether he fell off the map or died to gas or something happened there. I'm assuming they're going for the reset, which would make sense. As we still at this point do not have the second bolt plug. We're almost 10 minutes through this first match and we are yet to see the plug. They're setting it up now with the gateway. 3 seconds left until Lagooners come back. I would argue that poor time management is what's causing half the problems in this game. We've got these teams stalling perfectly, by the way, to the point where they can get everybody back on the board, but then they're just chasing down 1v1s, and it is such random altercations as well. It's Microchip as a heavy in Narnia. It's the other member of Lagooners as their heavy in Narnia. But you look at the damage being done now. Weekend at Bernie's sending out some hot ones from the end.
Definitely some hot damn damage. It's gonna do a lot. That glitch Going to land, going to deny a lot of util for a brief amount of time, but no pushing from Lagooners. They know they can't get too far forward, but this little wraparound has been great and huge. The gateway massively opens up an advantage, but Axolot will fall to the floor as the Lagooners, both at half health, has to rethink of a way to first get Axolot back onto his feet and also recover their health, which they will slow things down as a splat again hits exactly where you want to see it. The repeater not landing, because if it does, it will be devastating. There's the hit, and Microchip will also help by getting one done. So we are seeing Class on the floor, down to Rusty Pete to stay alive.
Ooh.
Can't get it done. There's one more chance. One more chance.
Very quick chance. Very a quick chance, by the way. And just a touch, it's not that we're saying these things out of spite. It is just purely observation. This is what's happening. There's not much of a story that we can tell aside from the fact that it has really just been a PvP. They're not even going to bother. I think they've packed it in. Axolotl, the only person giving it his best. His team now coming in very late, mind you, to the rest of that team fight. We saw them sort of just chilling in spawn. We have got one diving over. It looks to be towards the cash box. Some great shots there from Shay Cass, but unfortunately, he's not going to find it. It's round over weekend at Bernie's. They have walked away with a very quick, well, maybe not very quick with all the tech issues, but regardless, very quick 4-0. I mean, not much we can really say about it, Hyper. A lot of probably, I'd say, strategy issue, possibly rotation issues, and possibly comp issues. It seems to just be more of the micro things. The aiming, both teams have it. They're really, really good in terms of their players, but unfortunately, it's just those small things that need changing.
Yeah, there are some small things, and I think it is very much of what I felt from this game was who was in that defensive position, who actually was protecting the objective, because that person was the one who was completely in control of the game. They were the ones who, no matter where you pushed, they seemed to have the upper hand. If you started to jump over or gateway in, they seemed to know where it was coming. So I feel the strats just felt, the attacking strats I'm referring to, just felt like they weren't as spontaneous enough and they weren't catching anybody off guard. So that going into this game.
Yeah, they struggled a little bit with, I think, as we said, I think it was just most of the things. It really was just a great deal of everything. It was a lot of different little bits all piled into one to cause problems. And that was for both sides. It wasn't necessarily a walk in the park for either end of the spectrum. And we're definitely not saying that either of these teams are bad, but definitely leaning more towards Weekend at Bernie's, playing a little bit more of that strategy. That is the difference maker. I think the fact that they actually had setups above, they had rotates sort of planned out, they had options. We saw there just at the end before, they had that goo pad ready to go. They were straight into the box if they needed to dive it from distance, and just their utility usage, the RPG, the difference in the healing game, lots of different things. I mean, ultimately, it came down to all of those different little bits making such a big problem for Lagooners. They just didn't have the healing managers. We saw they had DMAT, and we didn't see them use it. They had other things at their utility usage-wise that they didn't use. It was very much an aim duel, as you said, ego challenge, PvP. It definitely sort of more gearing towards that style, but that's OCE, ladies and gentlemen. It's why we love it. It's the hyper aggression. But other than that, I don't think there's really much more to break down for that one, Hyper, other than it was just those small things. They culminated into a big problem for Lagooners, and Weekend at Bernie's, they played a little bit more close to the meta, and that ultimately netted them the win.
I think for the Lagooners, and it's just my final point with the Laguna side of things and why I feel they weren't able to fully overcome their opponents, was it was more the healing side of things, in the sense of the medium and heavy weren't sticking together. They weren't running their roles correctly. Light of Axolot, yeah, he's got to do his own thing. He's got to be
Yeah.
somewhat so in the vicinity enough that he can come back. If he needs to heal, he'll heal, or vice versa. But he is a guy that's supposed to go alone. However, it felt like the medium was playing his own game rather than sticking with the heavy, which is rule 101 when it comes to even silver level strats of gameplay. And I know that's harsh, and I'm not going to apologize for it, because it is true. It's a medium and heavy combo.
Yeah.
You've got to be sticking together. That medium is got to buddy up. Whether that's a healing beam or whether that's not, you still have that medium there to quickly pick up your heavy because you want your sponge in play. The light being out of the game, not so important. Yes, it can make a difference amongst this pro scene, but it's not as big in the vast image. So that was my kind of big thing. But before we end the entire thing, let's have a quick look at the standing screens and see how this has shaped things up. And I tell you what, with 2 games all played, and of course with some point difference and everything like that, Capybara Armada is joint with Weekend at Bernie's. Of course, this is the first maps, and no surprise with both teams going a complete wipeout 2-0-2-0 will also give them a massive point difference advantage. And unfortunately, down at the bottom, Dirty Dawgs and Lagooners that we saw today sitting down low. But I love the 2 in the middle. Proto, they're one apiece.
Yes, one apiece. I mean, it leaves a lot open to interpretation. Obviously, only having 6 teams, you are going to see a lot of jumping in that mid-ladder, bottom ladder side of things. In terms of the top ladder, probably not. Obviously, you will have your 2 teams that sort of just smash through. It's usually what happens across different titles, whether it is, this game, another game, etc. You usually have those couple of 2 teams, but then in regards to everybody else in that mid-lower ladder, they sort of just play for 3rd and 4th place. There are sometimes those teams that come all the way from the bottom and come back up. For instance, Dirty Dawgs, Lagooners. We can't count them out after week 1. This is still a very fresh scoreboard after only 1 round of games being played. Buffalo Bills rolled. Obviously, they went, as you said, 1 apiece, opening the door for possibly, we didn't get to see that game. That could be 2 teams that we have no information on. Well, it is. It's exactly that. Going forward into week number 2, though, Hyper, I am hoping that we get to see everybody on the leaderboard come up. I believe we do, if we had a look at the standings just before week 2 was advertised. That is the ending screen. We're not ending quite just yet. But yeah, whatever happens, we'll see all the teams next week. And I'm definitely looking forward to it because I need the information. There we are, from what happened between Rolled and Buffalo Bills. So next week, Weekend at Bernie's are taking on Buffalo Bills, Dirty Dawgs versus Rolled, and Capybara versus Lagooners. Hyper, any of those matches piquing your interest?
Ooh, I'm excited for Capybara Armada versus Lagooners. I think there's a lot for Lagooners to look at and change things up. So that should be interesting. But of course, we've got the Buffalo Bills and Rolled being the 2 unknown for us because that was done off stream. So for us, it's going to be quite interesting to see how they play up. But critically, look at these new maps that we got put up. Skyway Stadium, up, down, left, right, being the this choice of variant. But then we have Seoul under construction, which I absolutely love. It is such a great variation, opening up the entirety of the map. I think everyone loves this, apart from Cash Out. That is the only time people will turn around and go, "Nah, we don't like this version." But if you do put it into center, then we might see some problems. I will go into Seoul in a lot more detail as it is one of my favorite maps, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how next week unfolds and how that should uncover. Before we end this, Proto, anything from you to take from what we've seen today?
I think what we take away from today is that Oceania definitely has more to give in this first week of the OFL. My skin has just been tingling all night. It's been so good to be in a region that I know. It's been so good to watch these games. And I think based on what we've seen tonight, there is plenty more left in our region left to give. So I'm hoping that we can represent going forward from here and continue putting on a strong show. I've loved it so much, and I'm really looking forward to week 2.